Today we're going to be taking a close look at the driver swing, and I'm going to show you 3 things that you can do to help you increase your club head speed. So you join me here at the Forest of Arden, where we're looking at driver, and we're going to get you basically to get this thing moving quicker through impact, which makes the game generally more fun, and it can often make it a little bit easier as well if you're a little bit more advanced down the fairway. Just before we get into the content today, if you're not a subscriber on my channel, I would love you to be part of the community. I really believe these videos can help you progress your game and enjoy your time on the course a little bit more. There is a subscription link down in the description. Give that a click, as well as a little bell icon as well, which just means you'll be notified when I do upload a new video. So the lesson plan today is ultimately to get you to swing the driver quicker, and we're going to do that in 3 different ways. Number 1 is going to be something to do with the backswing. Number 2 is going to be something to do with your body movement through the golf ball, which is really important. And we're going to finish off by looking at something to do with your connection to the golf club, your hold on the golf club, and how that can really influence your ability to create speed. So let's get started with the first of our 3 points, which is to do with your backswing rotation. So backswing rotation, and how can that influence club head speed? Well, very simply, the greater range of motion we have in the backswing, i.e. the further the body rotates and the further the club travels, the more likelihood it is that we're going to create some more speed on the way through. Now, if we take that to the extremes, if I was to address this golf ball and move my club back about 2 feet from the ball, it really doesn't matter who I am and how strong I am, I'm not going to generate much club head speed. I've got to give myself the time to do that. And so we need a greater range of motion away from the golf ball. That is the club head, the hands, the upper body, and the lower body as well. So here's a very, very simple little concept for you. When you get yourself set up with the driver, I really want you to feel like your lead shoulder, so in my case that's my left shoulder, at the end of the backswing is above my trail knee. If I take the golf club away for the moment, what we will often find for the golfers who potentially don't hit the ball as far as they'd like, they don't wind their body up enough. Now, there can be a number of reasons why this happens. Sometimes it can be concept, they're not aware they need to, or sometimes it can just be that the driver's not necessarily the best club in the bag for them, they're not as consistent as they would like, and so they often kind of subconsciously make shorter, more compact swings under the impression that's going to help them hit more fairways. What we'd like you to do is actually increase that range of motion. So I'm going to take my starting position, I'm going to really focus on this lead shoulder and really winding it up until it gets above my trail knee. Now, it doesn't need to be directly above that knee, but it's just a concept and an idea. And what I'm really doing here is I'm almost visualizing this area, almost where my trail shoulder is, and I'm trying to move my lead shoulder into that area. Now, as I do this as a rehearsal, it's going to give me a pretty good idea about how much rotation I'm going to need to use through my legs in order to achieve that. Everyone's going to be slightly different. If you're more flexible, you potentially won't need as much rotation through the legs. If you're less flexible, you may need a lot of rotation through your legs to achieve that top of the backswing position. But we have to create this greater range of motion if we're looking to create some speed. That's really, really important. So the first thing is going to be to add some club head speed, lead shoulder above trail knee at the top of your backswing, and allow the lower body to accommodate that with how much it rotates. Second point, this is really focusing on what you do with your body through the impact area, and this is so key to your ability to create some club head speed. We're just going to remove the golf club to begin with, because it's going to help us kind of focus and look at that body in a little bit more detail. When I address the golf ball, when I take my starting position, I create some bend through my hips, and I create this tilt over the golf ball. We call this forward bend. Now, when I go through to my finish position, so where I would end the golf swing, I'll be somewhere here. Now you'll notice that I've got no forward bend. I'm almost in the complete opposite position. I'm actually got my belt buckle pushed out towards the target, and I'm actually arching backwards, which is very different to what we saw at setup. So setup, I was more in this kind of form, and at the end of my golf swing, I was more in this kind of form. We call that extension through the body and extension through the hips. Many of you will have heard that term before related to an early extension, but it happens in all good golf swings. What we know is that when we move from this forward bend form into this extended position, it's a really, really good source of power that many golfers out there aren't tapping into. So it would not be uncommon to see a golfer create forward bend at address, and when they finish their golf swing, they still have some of that forward bend present. maybe not as much as they had at address, but they're still bent forwards where you can see my chest is pointing down and my head is much closer to the target than my belt buckle. What we'd love you to focus on is trying to create that opposite relationship where the belt buckle is much closer to the target than my head, and I feel like the buttons or the zip on my top are pointing more up towards the sky. So when does this kind of start to happen? Well, as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to think of an exact point in the goal swing, but generally what we would tend to find is at this point here, so last parallel in the downswing, I'm still going to have some forward bend. But when I get through to my end position, I want to have taken that out and have this extended look. And that, if this is new to you, would be the way I would introduce that to your goal swing. Take an address, move the club with your wrists and your forearms into this delivery position. And then from here, focus on getting through to an end position with this very, very extended look here, where, as we said, chest is at the sky, belt buckle is out in front of my head. In the goal swing, that happens at quite a bit of speed, and you can do that with a fair amount of force. And what we're really doing here is, without really going into too much detail, we're applying a force to the handle. And a force to the handle will have an effect on the club head, and it will cause it to kick out to the golf ball with a little bit more energy, and that's going to create our club head speed. So we're going to go up to the top. We're going to find our delivery position here, lots of flex forward bend in our body, and as we go through, we move very quickly to extension, and you will feel how you're using your ground and your feet to push you up into this end position. It's a great thing that you can add into your golf swing to give you some extra club head speed and some more yards from the tee. Okay, final thing, point number 3 to help you get some more club head speed. We've got a greater range of motion in the backswing. We've got a body going from flexion to extension through impact. All of those things are going to create potential power. That power gets out into the golf club through and via your hands, because your hands are the only thing connected to the golf club. So you can undo all of the good things that we've discussed by holding on too tightly and, more importantly, locking up those wrists. We can afford to have a little bit of pressure through the fingers because this club could be traveling at some 120 miles an hour. We've got to hold on pretty tightly, but your wrists have got to be loose. We've got to be able to use those to transfer the energy through out into the golf club. So we've got to loosen off those wrists. 2 little exercises that I'm going to give you here which can help you appreciate how much sort of tension, how much flow in those wrists. You're going to take your address, stand up in front of you with the club head, and I want you to feel like you keep the grip end of the club as still as you can, and you make little circles with the club head. So you can see that I'm not really moving the grip end, I'm just moving little circles in that club head. Now what I'm really doing there is I'm actually using my wrists to do that. Now if I was to increase the tension through my fingers and grip the club a little tighter, I can still make those movements because my wrist is staying fluid, it's staying in motion. I'm not locking up those wrists. If I lock up those wrists, those circles are going to feel like they're much bigger, they're much jerkier, and I'm going to feel like it's coming a little bit more from my body. So little circles is going to give you that great sensation of keeping those wrists nice and fluid. We can almost use that as a little waggle down behind the golf ball. We can keep that club kind of moving this way, little movements to keep those wrists, as we said, nice and fluid. Now this one is, again, a slightly more exaggerated version of that, but it's again to try and create some fluidity with those wrists. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your same address, and I want you to feel as if you rotate your body slightly away from the target and slightly towards the target in this fashion here. Now what you'll notice if I do this, and this is actually the incorrect way of doing it, notice how the relationship between the club head, my hands, my arms, my body is staying the same. What I would love you to do is create that motion and have the club head lagging behind that movement. So if I do that again, you're going to see how this time the club head is starting to lag behind that body movement. Now I'm not doing that intentionally with my hands. What I'm trying to do is soften off my wrists, so the club head is now starting to lag behind my body. And again, like we said before, I can actually increase the tension through my fingers, but it's having that fluidity and that softness in the wrist, because that's really what's going to help that speed get out into the golf club. So just to summarize here, if we can create a greater range of motion, we can start to use our body better through the golf ball, and we can soften off our wrists and allow them to transfer that energy through into the club head, we should be able to create some more speed, and that speed should translate to more yards, and those yards should translate to shorter iron shots, shorter putts. So really, what I've done in this video is helped your putting, because if you hit it further, you'll have less putts. slightly on the left-hand side, but that's a pretty good drive, so I'll be very happy with that. Should give me a chance to go for this par 5 in 2. And really, that's the idea of the driver, getting a few extra yards, is just giving you better second shots into the green. So 3 things to help you increase your clubhead speed with the driver. That's definitely going to make the game more fun and give you some shorter second shots into the green. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below. Like button, give it a thumbs up if you did like the video. Comments box down there, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And please share this with someone you think could benefit and get a few extra yards from the tee. Thank you again for watching. We'll hopefully see you back here again soon.